Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone is having a fabulous day so far. Give me 1 second. I need to go live manually over on Instagram. And we are all set to go. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to a quick craft with Royce for this morning's craft. So, if you're new, my name is Royce Hunt Bell, and I am the founder, owner, and operator of Roycycled Treasures. And we're meeting every day at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in the month of January to kickstart our creativity for 2026. And so, my goal was to do like a 20 to 30 minute craft, but they turned into an hour. I'm just going to have to it's who I am. I have like a simple idea and my mind keeps ideating even afterwards and up to I push the live button. So we generally end up going way over that. But we're meeting every morning to do different projects. And for today's project, you guys, I have um, a clipboard pulled out and I've already done some work to prep the clipboard. All I did was I used a stain blocking primer on this clipboard, and I just decided that I wanted to paint the metal part. So we're going to use a binding primer on that together in just a few minutes. I did pick this clipboard on purpose because I saw that it had some stains in it, and I knew that I would have some bleed through. And so I wanted to show you guys what can happen. Can you guys even see that? What can happen to your finish if you do not take proper steps to prime and prep your surface? You guys see that stain is bleeding through right there. And we have another one up here. Now, I just painted this like an hour ago. I don't know how much stain blocking primer, blocking power I'm going to get. If you're using a stain blocking primer, you really want to give it like at least 3 hours to be able to really block any stains from coming through. Um, I'm gonna be making mine grungy, so if a little bit of this shows through, it's like not a big deal. But let's say this were a piece of furniture and I had put down a layer of primer and I could see these stains emerging. I would go over this with another coat of primer if I really wanted to make sure that they were blocked back. But I'm not gonna worry about that because we're working on something grungy. So if it bleeds through a little bit, it'll actually add to what we're doing. I did want to spend a little bit of time. I'm going to be using the Dress Form Project Blocks decoupage paper from Roycycled. And Roycycled tissue paper is an 18-pound tissue paper. So it's a little heavier than like regular tissue paper, but it's not as heavy as, say, printer paper, like the paper in your printer. So it is still a tissue paper, which means it disappears beautifully on your surface when you decoupage, but it's not so heavy. Um, that it has like a really high profile when you use it. And so this is the dress form project blocks. This is one half of it. You have a dark side and a light side, and then some smaller elements on the other side. And so I'm going to choose to use this light piece right here because we're going to be talking about underpainting today. And what you put underneath your paper really matters the most when you're using the lighter designs, as a lot of this light portion becomes relatively transparent. Um, how transparent depends on what you do when you're decoupaging, but it comes relatively transparent. And so if you're wanting to include something underneath your decoupage in your final finish, you're going to have more success when you're using the lighter decoupage paper designs. I do have several of these type of project block paper, so I wanted to just show them a little bit. This one is called the Junk Journal Project Blocks. Oh man, now that I've shown this one, I might go to this one. We'll see. And what you'll find is that it has two larger squares, right, of like basic ephemera. And then you have some additional elements on the other side that you can use. And there's one other one, I couldn't find it here at my house, which is the Cowgirl Project Block, which is kind of the same setup, if you will. You have two larger sheets and then you have some smaller elements. And these are so fun because you can use these elements together because they're themed, right? They're all kind of circling a theme, whether it's the junk journaling or dress form or the cowgirl. Um, Or you can just make a bunch of small projects with them. So you get one piece of paper, and the paper, by the way, is 21 inches by 29 inches, and you can make multiple projects with that one sheet of paper. But I'm going to stick to my original plan and use the dress form. I'm going to do this for you guys because I want to use the eye chart. That would be perfectly my style, but I love this style too, though, with the dress form. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and just trim her off. Of this whole piece. Make sure I'm only cutting this piece. And this is probably more than we need, but it's all one design. So I'm going to go ahead and trim it like this. And then I still have like all these pieces of paper that I can use on another design. I may incorporate this is kind of a distressed, oh my gosh, Harlequin. We'll see. Or I don't know. We'll see. I may incorporate one of these two patterns, but we'll see how I'm feeling in a few minutes and how much time we end up having. So we're going to start by decoupaging this, but I do want to add this bonding primer to my metal. You guys, normally when I work on a clipboard, I will use a zip tie to hold my clip open, but look, it's a string. I have so many flipping zip ties. Like I have an unseeming, like just so many. And do you think I can find one this morning? One solitary zip tie? No, no, I could not. So I just tied it with a string, which, that's another option. That way my clip stays open and out of my way while I'm working. I'm going to go ahead and go over this metal with a bonding primer, but I'm going to sand this just a little bit. I like to remove like the shininess from my metal even before I prime it. And that's just really going to help increase my adhesion. And I have already gone over this with some alcohol to make sure that I've removed like any dirt or grease or anything that may be on there that may interfere with the adhesion from my products. And so let's do that really quickly. And yes, I could have done this before we started, but I ran out of time this morning. My husband and I drove 2 hours to go and see a play last night. And it was an adventure. It's raining in Arizona. It was cold, and the play was in like a really old auditorium from like, I meant to look it up to see how old. Based on the architecture inside, I would say the 30s maybe. And the seats were so close together. And, we're really tall people. I'm 6 feet and my husband is 6'5". So we got home about midnight last night. It was a long evening. Okay. So I am just going to put that primer on there. I'm going to dry it really quickly. And you guys know what I'm going to do? I want this to be like a really, almost if you say, rustic anyways. So I'm going to take advantage of, the fact that I'm doing this primer. And I'm going to go ahead and just add some stipple marks on here. And add some, I'll start my texture, right? And this is why it's going to take longer today because I decided that I wanted to paint the metal. And this square brush isn't optimum. Usually when I stipple, I like using a round brush because you get like more organic shapes, but I think we're okay. It's an interesting look. So let's dry this and then we will move on to decoupaging. If this is your first time joining me for one of these morning sessions, I'm intentionally not looking at the comments, you guys, because I want to be able to do a project from start to finish and I don't want to get distracted. So if you guys have questions, if you're on Facebook and you have questions, you can leave them during the live and I'll be able to go back and see them. For YouTube, I haven't figured out how to do it yet. So if you have like a burning question, just come back to the live after I'm done and drop it in the comments. And that way I can answer the question for you. And for Instagram, everything goes away after I'm live. So I apologize. But you can answer questions on on the other two platforms if you have like a burning question that you really want answered. And I'm just drying this because I don't want to get any of it on my paper when we start to decoupage. Now, today and probably tomorrow too, we'll do a different project tomorrow, but I want to talk about what you can do underneath your decoupage paper to add to like your design of your final finish. And since we're using a lighter paper today, we know that whatever we do underneath is going to show through. So what I want to do is I'm going to add some grunginess under here. Oh man, did I not bring a round brush? Oh, I'm going to have to improvise. You know what I'll do? I'll just use some ink. It's fine. I was going to use one of my round brushes and go in with some paint, which you can do. So you can do it with paint, you can do it with ink, anything that's going to set up, you can do it with. And so I'm going to use some ink for this because I forgot my round brush. And I like for my blacks to be warm. So I always add like another color. This color is a turmeric. So it's almost like a ochre yellow color. And I'm going to add my black in there to that color. And I'm going to mix these two in order to get a really warm brown that I can use on my project. And then what I'll do in order to make sure that this ink is set up, I'll use my dryer. I'll use the heat from my dryer. So I probably mixed way too much ink there, but I want to make sure that I had enough. And I'm going to go around and add some grunge to my edges for this specific project. And on tomorrow's project, I'll show you guys how to add pretty stuff, okay? And if you're joining me and you're on Facebook, you can put hashtag guide, I believe, in the comments, and you'll get my 8-page decoupage guide that shows you. It gives you like tips and tricks to layering your decoupage with other products, so that you can like really create custom finishes. And so it gives you ideas, and then it also gives you instructions and then steps to take to make sure that you're successful in your effort. And so I am just going around with this ink and creating a halo effect. And because I'm using a light paper, you're going to be able to see this. And I could do this over the top of my paper, absolutely. But I do feel like having it under the paper just makes it look a little bit more organic. And I don't want it to be exactly the same all the way around. So way too much ink. So what I'm going to do, oh, I really did need that round brush. I am going to take a brush. Let me see if I have another one. I looked at those brushes this morning and I was like, I'm going to come back and get those. And I did not. Having a round or oval brush in your stash really is, I feel like it's important because it enables you to make things more organic. This isn't a round brush, but it is so jacked up and fuzzy. I think it'll do what I want. So I'm just wanting to go here and just kind of soften my edges. I don't want to have like a really harsh um, edge where like it ends right here, right? So I'm just blending my edges out a little bit so that you can't really tell where it exactly ends. You guys know what I mean? Cool thing about using this over my primer is the primer is actually making my ink dry faster. It's kind of nice. I'm going to go back in and add some more ink on the edges, but I just want to make sure that this is blended better. And you see how it's hard to tell like exactly where it's beginning and ending. I just think that looks a lot better. But I'm still producing that halo, and you guys know I love a good halo. I am going to go back around my edges and make them darker though. And if I weren't here with you guys, I would probably go back and forth until I got exactly what I wanted. I'll be honest, right? I'm going to blend that corner out. That's a little too much. And I'm trying to be mindful. Like, I want to go in really dark with this ink on my edges, but I know that the more ink I put on here, the longer it's going to take to dry. So I do not have time for all that. But if you're working on yours, and you're wanting your ink to be really, dark and you're going in really heavy, just be prepared for it to take longer for that ink to dry if you go in that heavy. And again, I'm not mentioning specific products here on the actual video because I want my retailers to be free to share the videos to help to highlight the products that they carry. It's really important to me to be a good partner. We have a huge mine here, and they're really committed to being like good corporate partners. And so I always think about that when in relationship to my retailers. And so whenever I'm taking action, I think about how it could impact them. And so if I did a video and I highlighted specific brands, I would be excluding a portion of my retailers from being able to share this video. So, but if you ask in the comments, I'll let you know exactly which brand I use. But I want my retailers to be able to share this video, regardless of what kind of brands they're selling. And so I'm not mentioning specific brands here on the live. And I'm just going in and picking up any really heavy ink because I need this to dry fairly quickly. But if you're making this at home, you could absolutely make it darker and just wait a little bit longer for it to dry all the way. So I think that that is good. I'm going to go ahead and go in with my dryer. And again, when I go in with my dryer, I'm not just like using it to dry the ink. I'm actually using the heat to set this because if I start decoupaging and my ink isn't set, that is going to be a hot mess, right? Because ink is going to smear everywhere. And that is not what we want. I just put a little bit of ink under my clip right here, and then I'm going to smear that out so I can have a little bit of a halo right here, even though no one's going to see that, right? It's going to be under the clip, but you guys know how our minds work. And I'll probably put the dark paper on the back. So like on the front, it'll be the light dress form, and then I'll do the back with the dark dress form. And then I'll have a completed project. Okay. Say, stop it, Royce. Stop touching it. I know that this is not going to dry. So I'm just tapping it because I would like for it to stay dark, but I'm just going to pick up any like extra ink that's there. And I can always go over the paper if it's not dark enough, right? If I do it and I find that I want it to be a little bit darker, then I can just add more ink over the top of my paper. And that is going to be a mess. We're going to cheat. I don't want to wipe it up because I might need it later. So I'm just going to cover it with that. This is a make it work moment. If you are a creative business owner, you have a shop or you have a booth, and you're looking for a product to carry, consider carrying Roycycled decoupage papers. We have a fairly low entry to be able to be a retailer. And we just ask that you buy quarterly or with each launch because we do offer protected territories. So if we're protecting your territory from anybody else to be able to buy there, then we want to make sure that you have a decent inventory to serve the customers who live in your territory. So we do offer territory protection. You can be an online only retailer. We do have some specific rules around that. We offer quarterly business training to help support the retailers. Whenever I do any kind of a class, you guys have seen me do classes on like decoupage or using stencils. Those courses are available for free to Roycycled retailers as ongoing education for being a retailer. So if you're interested, you can go to roycycled.com, and I think the tab says retailer, I think. And if you click that, you can submit the form. And that form isn't the application, it's just like an interest form. And then my retailer, Stephanie, will touch base with you to get additional information. And again, I just want to get this warm enough so that I know that this ink is not going to smear when I go into decoupage. And if I touch it and it's still a little tacky, I know it's still wet. This is going to take just a few minutes, I know. So while I'm doing this, if you guys can take a look at this video, please. It's less than a minute. And then when we come back, I'll give you guys some additional information about the opportunity. If you've been craving time, if you've been craving time just for you, time to create, to breathe, to reconnect with who you are, I want to personally invite you to the 2026 Roycycled Besties Retreat. We're gathering in beautiful downtown Safford, Arizona for 3 days of creativity, connection, and rest. All your creative supplies are provided, breakfast and lunch are taken care of, and you'll even receive exclusive Roycycled retreat-only goodies. We are already over halfway full, so if your heart's been whispering maybe, this is your moment to say yes. Click the link to claim your seat. I would love to meet you here. And so the Roycycle retreat is scheduled for the end of April. If you guys are interested, if you're on Facebook, you can put hashtag retreat and you'll get a message. For everyone else, you can go to roycycledacademy.com and you'll find that there's a portion and you can click through and you can go to the page to find out more information about the retreat. There are still seats available. We're about 80% full right now, the last time I looked. You guys, it's really special. And not just because I'm putting it on. Okay, it is because I'm putting it on, but I really do work hard to make it a learning experience, but really a growth experience for you, both creatively and hopefully personally as well. And that's a feedback that we got from a lot of people last year um, who came to the retreat. We had one of our attendees who was a creative. Um, and she just hadn't done anything in a while. And she only came because her friend dragged her. But she was so inspired by the experience that she went home and opened her studio and actually started practicing again. So sometimes we just need a little, kickstart or a little spark that starts that fire that gets us going. And for those of you who are registered, I'm going to be sending an email out today because you guys know that we get a discount for the event motel. But I did want to tell you guys that if you're coming with a friend, when you guys call to book your motel room, you can get any size room for that special price. So if you're coming with a friend, you can book a double and then you guys can just share that. And it's still for the same discounted price, regardless of the size of the room. I know one of the ladies, she said she booked her a king. A king suite. Okay. So we're going to be using this portion from the dress form project blocks. And I just need to decide what I want to be on here. I have my edge right here. So I think I'm going to go here. Seldom do I put things right in the middle. I would actually like for her to be a little further over, but my paper ends here. So this is where we're going to stop. And I'm going to trim a little bit of this extra paper off just so it's not like pulling on my project. And because even though these are like little bitty shards of paper, I will use these for something. It could be a mixed media piece, it could be a tag, but the texture on this is really yummy. And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to use it for something. I may actually um, bring this little corner piece back in because I kind of miss that. We'll see. We'll see how it looks with the grunginess underneath. I may not need it. And if you ever have your paper and it's like just the right size, or maybe it's just like a 16th of an inch too short, when we miss the paper and start decoupaging, your paper is going to stretch some. And you can use that stretch to kind of take advantage and cover if you're just shy of being able to cover everything on your paper. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit to make sure I'm going to be able to cover the top. So I'm going to make sure all my edges are going to be covered. And for this one, I am going to use a varnish. I feel like for a clipboard, I brought my tea out, you guys, with my protein powder. I'm so tired this morning. I needed some help. When I say tea, my tea does not have any tea bags in it. It has dehydrated lemons and dehydrated candied ginger. And that's it. Okay. So for this one in particular, or any project like this where you have it lined up just right, this initial row is super important because once you get this row established, you don't have to worry about your paper moving um, in a way that's going to be out of alignment with your intent. And I'm misting my paper so my fibers can relax and spread. Um, and I'm actually going to mist this a little more because I want it to be super transparent. So I'm actually going to mist it more than usual because I want to take full advantage of the transparent nature of the paper. Roycycled tissue paper, the light designs do get transparent when you use them, and you can kind of include that quality in your choices, which is kind of what we're doing today, right? And to maximize the transparency, I'm going to go right over the top of this with my decoupage medium. And I'm using a matte medium, which for this is going to be fine. But if I were wanting it to be like absolutely the most transparent as possible, I would use a gloss medium because matte mediums have particulates in them. And that's why your surface looks matte because they sit on top and make it uneven so the light doesn't bounce off as readily. But they also can make, they create like a little bit of a cloudiness. You know what I mean? So if you want to maximize the transparency of your paper, use a gloss medium because then you won't have those particulates in your medium. And so you see how the darkness that I put underneath that paper is showing through the paper and it just adds something. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Now, if you weren't a grungy person, let's say you like grunge, but like, oh, I should have done a grungy pink. That would have been fabulous, right? I'll have to pin that one in my brain for another time. But let's say if I would have done like a grungy pink finish under this, that would be beautiful coming through this paper, right? And I'm using the misting method, so I don't have to necessarily worry about, and this is a fairly small project, so I'm gonna mist the whole thing. I'm not misting the very top though, because I know I have to trim that with scissors, but I'm gonna go ahead and just do the rest of this though and get her done all the way up to about here. And when you're using the misting method, make sure that you're using plenty. You don't want puddles of product on there because you'll get weird ripples, but you do want to have a nice, generous coverage of product on there. And make sure you look at your surface from the side to ensure that you've laid product everywhere. If you have a spot where product doesn't go, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a bubble right there. And it happens so easy, you guys, easier than you would ever imagine. There have been times where I just known I've covered the entire surface. And then when I look from the side, I have like a whole spot that's completely dry. And again, because I'm maximizing the transparency of my paper or because I want to, I'm going right over the top immediately with my decoupage medium. If you guys want to learn more about decoupage, because yes, it's just gluing paper onto a surface, but there's so many opportunities with decoupage. I do teach a decoupage masterclass, and you guys can find it at roycycledacademy.com. Now, I didn't spritz the top because I knew I was going to have to trim this with scissors because we have to get around this metal bit right here. And so I am going to cut my paper. I always do this backwards. I think I'm going to cut it this way. Yes. So just inside of this metal, I'm going to make a cut and I'm going to slant it this way so that I have a little piece that'll go over and go on the back side of this. So I'm cutting it this way. And then I need to go all the way though to the bottom to where it starts. So that way I have this piece of paper that goes around the back. And I need to cut that a little bit even more of an angle. It's kind of hard because I've acquired so many things on my table. Okay. And even if I have like a little space right here, but I'm just going to put a piece of paper there. And because we're using tissue paper, no one will ever know. No one will ever know. And so, whoops, I forgot to miss that. Dang it. And I'm only worried about missing it because I want it to be transparent. So that's not about it being not wrinkled. It's about it being transparent so that it fits the same finish as the rest of my board. Because when you're doing like really tiny spots, you have to worry about it less. It's easier to get a wrinkle-free finish, right? When you're doing something really small. Make sure that we get this tack down. Okay, so you see how, even though, whoops, I forgot the ink was under there, you guys. Maybe I should leave my comments on because one of you probably said, Royce, remember not to move that. Um, you see how all that work that we did underneath, you can see it, but it's just not as it like adds an element to this without being like super noticeable because it is under the paper. So let's dry this. And when we dry it, it's going to become a little bit more subtle, but it'll still be there. Can you guys imagine if we had done like a grungy pink? Oh, I need to do that now. It's an idea in my head. We'll have to use it in another project. And if you are looking for recycled decoupage paper, you can find it at roycycled.com. You can also find, if you push buy, you'll have two choices, buy direct or find a retailer. And when you click find a retailer, you'll go to a map and you can put your location on there and you can find the retailer nearest you. Now, if you don't happen to have a retailer like really close to you where you can drive to a shop, still look at the retailer closest to you because chances are they're able to offer you a better shipping rate than I can because I'm in Arizona. So, like, if you're in New York, right, you may want to find somebody a lot closer to you so you can get better shipping on your order. And David and I will be live this Sunday. I need to make an event. I think I did make an event. My husband and I are live on Sunday evenings at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we do projects just like we're doing today, except we're a lot more chatty. My husband monitors the comments, and I never know what we're going to talk about because it's based on what he wants to talk about or what whoever comes and hangs out with us. What, you know, sometimes they initiate the conversations, but it's a time for us to catch up and to chit chat. So if you're looking for a community, come hang out with us on Sunday night. And I teach too. So I do a craft and I teach, and we also do a lot of chatting. It's literally called Chatting and Crafting with Royce and David. So you can join us Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for that. And if you'd like to hang out with me more often, I do have a group, the Roycycled Besties membership, and we meet every week. Um, and we take deep dives on subjects. So, like right now, we are starting with our gel plate. This will be our second time with the gel plate, but there's so much that you can do with the gel plate that I could probably teach on it for a lifetime and never run out of things. But we're circling back to the gel plate um, and things that we can create with it. So it's just about learning new things, expanding your creativity. I am like the teacher in the group, but honestly, I have so many talented women in the membership that bring additional like information that I don't know. And they're experts in the things that they're experts in. So we get to have that as part. And then we also have guests. Generally, I don't want to say every month. It's not like guaranteed, it's like an extra. So we have guests every month. This guest I'm excited about. She's going to be showing us how to do paint pour jewelry. I'm excited. And usually the guests are teaching us something like way outside of anything that I know, which is super exciting for me because I get to learn all kinds of new stuff. So if you're looking for inspiration, but mostly if you're looking for a community, honestly, come and join us at the membership. And you can find more information at roycycle.com. Okay, I think we're dry enough to trim safely. Now, yesterday I was able to trim with my blade because we were working with metal, right? And metal's not going to absorb any moisture. Whatever's on top is going to dissipate, and that's going to be it. But we're working with this wood composite today, so it's actually going to absorb some moisture. So even though my dryer is going to get rid of the moisture on the top, there may still be some moisture trapped in the substrate. So just something to think about when you're working with like wood is that it will hold on to moisture longer. And sometimes even if something feels completely dry, it may not be. I didn't pull out any transfers, but I think there was a transfer I wanted to use on top of it. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know if I have time. So now that that is dry enough, right? Because I it's not completely dry. I'm gonna go ahead and sand. And this is just a finger sander. My hands are not the greatest, and like it's been cold and rainy here. So my hands are really not good. So if I had to hold on to like a little piece of sandpaper, I would struggle. But this little finger sander makes it easier. And I also use like either a sanding sponge like this one or a sanding block. And they just give me like, it's just easier for me to hold on to these things than it is to hold on to a piece of paper that I have to grip really tightly. I know as we get a little bit older, it becomes a little harder to do things, but it doesn't mean that we stop doing them. We just kind of have to modify our approach. I've been eyeballing some squishies to put on my paintbrushes. Not on these, but like my in my art studio when I'm painting, those brushes are so dang skinny. And you guys will notice I'm only sanding down. I just and it not that if I go across, I'm gonna guarantee to mess up my edge. Once you guys learn the basics, you can break the rules the way you see fit. But I do only sand down because if I have an edge that's not adhered good and I'm sanding back and forth, I can rip that paper off of there. And I feel like the same thing can happen if I go side to side. So um, as a standard practice, I just sand straight down when I'm trimming. All my sanding blocks have been used to death. So they're probably like a 300 right now. 300 grit, which it'll still work, but you just have to sand forever. And I'm not trying to sand forever. Forever. I have done so many clipboards, and I think I enjoy doing them because um, it's just such a quick transformation, even just with the decoupage alone, right? You have a completely transformed surface. And if you're at work and this is your clipboard, you can hang it on your wall, and it's like a piece of art on your wall, right? It's a functional piece of art that you can take down and use when you need to. And if somebody walks off with your clipboard and you see them, you know it's yours. They can't say, "Oh no, 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 this is mine," because yours is special. So if I want it to be simple and done, we will be done by now at 12:45, and we will be finished. Super cute, but I do want to paint the top. I'm gonna be brave and go in with my blade and try to trim this top. So right here, I have a little bit extra paper, and I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna use the metal to my blade. So instead of trying to hold my blade down like this and hoping it's good, I can use that piece of metal to guide my blade. And that way I know it's going to be like exactly where it needs to be, right? In order to trim. You can tell when there's moisture because there's actually like a little bit of a give. But I need this paper out of my way, so marvelous, darling. Okay. So that way it's trimmed and my paper goes all the way up to the top of that clip. So you guys will notice that I have complete coverage, right, all the way around my clipboard. And I think that my halo is perfect. You guys see that? Like it's just subtle, right? It's not as dark as it would have been had I done it on top of my paper, but I still have that halo around the edge. And so you can paint underneath your paper and it'll actually add to your final finish on top of your paper. I do want to, so I use the what is it, bonding primer over the top of this. So let's add some paint to that. And I'm back to my milk paint because I am completely addicted and because I still have some left too. Um, I wonder if we can recreate the finish that we did on the second can. So let's put a coat of this. I'm gonna try to be careful and not get it on my paper, but we'll see what happens. I'm gonna hit this with the dryer. I want to make sure and cover any white. If there's a part of the metal that's showing, I'm not really concerned with that, but the white of the bonding primer, I definitely want to make sure that I cover that. Okay. So, and because it's metal, it's going to dry really quickly. And for an altered clipboard, just imagine like all the things that you could do. Once you get the background covered, um, we could add a hanging tag to this and have something really cute on the end to hold our pencil or a pen so that it's both a piece of art and fully functional at the same time. I have this tag that I'm going to glue to the top of mine. It has a B for bell. I mean, not tag, it's a tile, Scrabble tile. I thought that would be cute. I remember there was a time when I had someone helping me with my lives, and she would come over and we would do like 5 videos. And I would have everything prepped and laid out, and I had plans for what I was going to do. And inevitably, every video I would go off script, and she would be over there giving me the side eye, knowing that it was going to make our like recording session longer. But I can't help it. I think that's why it's so important to make time to create because it's when you're creating is when the additional ideas come. Or even if you're planning a project, those additional ideas show up. Okay. We're going to dry that one. And then I want to go over this with black. What time is it? Lord have mercy. It is 12:51. How does that even happen? The cool thing about metal is the heat is what makes the paint dry. So once the metal starts warming up, the paint, like all of the paint dries fairly quickly. I think I should put my clip down now. What do you guys think? I don't need it open anymore because we're done decoupaging. But I don't like to close my clip though. I'm gonna have a piece underneath that string that's not gonna be covered, but okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine. I just like to keep my clip open for about a day before I close it to make sure that it doesn't end up sticking to my paper. Okay. So I'm gonna put a lid on that. And then we have the noir. I'm guessing that's how you say it, which is like almost black. It's not quite black. It's almost black. And we're gonna go right over the top of this with this color. And the bonding primer really self-leveled, so it didn't leave me any texture the way I thought it would. So that's something to note that it does self-level, so you get like a smooth surface. And I am getting a paint on my paper, but I'm thinking that it's okay. It's supposed to look like rustic or primitive, whichever, term you prefer. Okay. I hope you guys are enjoying these projects. I guess more than short, they're complete. um, from start to finish. And if you guys are inspired by anything that I do in these lives that we're doing every morning, I would love to see them. You can share them inside of the Roycycled Upcycling with Decoupage Facebook group, or I even have a community on YouTube, and you can drop your projects over there. That's what I'm being told. And if you guys are looking for final photos after we're done, I'm posting the photos on Facebook and also in my YouTube's community as well. If you go to the Roycycled YouTube channel, there should be a tab at the top that says communities. And if you click on that, there's a feed. And you have choices with how you see the feed. You could either see like the most popular posts first, or you can see the latest first. So you can tap back and forth. Because sometimes you go over there and you may see something from a long time ago, but it's because it had a lot of activity when I posted it a long time ago. I'm going to do a second coat of this black. I'm glad we're working on this little tiny area so we can move through this pretty quickly. And I'm digging into the corners of this jar and I'm trying to get like um, a thicker version of this paint. You know what I mean? So rather than going into the middle where all of the moisture is, I'm digging in the corners and picking that up with my brush. So I'm picking up kind of a thicker version of the paint. I did pretty good not getting paint everywhere until this coat. That's funny. So some areas where I've touched it like pretty heavy, it's lifted off the paint, but I think I'm okay with that. I am just fine because it still lifts in like an organic way. And we're gonna dry this. And I'm gonna have to figure out how to attach my tile because I want to use wax with it. Hmm. Maybe I should glue my tile on right now. Although I don't know where my E6000 is. Dang it. I think that is dry. My only dry brush I have is my fan brush. I use that just to agitate any chippiness to come off. So yummy. And where is my wax brush? You guys remember I sacrificed a small brush for wax? And I don't know where I put it. And because this is warm, right? It's not like a stark black. I'm just gonna go in. Is this, yeah, and with dark wax, with the dark brown wax rather than the black wax. And should I go straight in or should I use clear wax first? What do you guys think? If I go straight in, it's gonna make this a lot darker, which I kind of think it needs to be a lot darker. So I'm gonna go straight in with the black wax. I mean, it's not black. This is the dark brown. So yesterday we used the black wax over this chalk paint. And so our project turned really dark, right? So this is, I'm hoping what we'll get is a really warm black by using the brown wax over it. And I'll show you guys the different projects. So for those of you who maybe missed the other lives, you can see um, what I'm talking about. I'm still not ready to untie my clip, so I'll have to contend with that little area right there later. I got a little bit too much paint on my paper right here that I'm happy with, so I'm gonna wipe that back. And because the paper is sealed, I'm able to wipe it off pretty quick. I mean, pretty easily. But I want to wipe it off before I get any wax on it, because if I wax that paint, it's just gonna be there, right? And I don't mind a little bit, but there are some places where there's a lot of paint, and that's no bueno. I don't want that. Okay, so I'm gonna finish covering this with my dark wax. And I'm not worried about underneath the clip, because once I close it, all that will be hidden. Okay. So I've covered that all with a dark wax. And now I'm going to take my lint-free towel and I'm just going to wipe the extra wax off. And with the wax, you can feel it like when you're wiping it and it stops dragging. Just know that anything you do after that, you're going to be buffing, which is fine, right? But just know that. And the more you buff it, the shinier it gets. So I want like a little bit of shine to this, but not a ton. And that's it, you guys. How awesome is this project? So I've really just decoupaged this, and then we painted the clip to match, the same kind of grunginess. I don't know. I think I want to add some more darkness around the edges, but because I'm not completely sure, I'm going to leave it like this. I am going to go in and put in another layer of varnish over this just to make sure, because it is a clipboard, right? So you're going to be writing on it and it's going to see a lot of activity, and I want to make sure that it's going to be durable. Know, you guys, that when you use a varnish, nearly any varnish, unless it's a specialty top coater varnish, it takes a full 30 days for a varnish to cure. So if you're clear coating something and protection is really important, just know that it's going to take time. There are some brands that have specialty varnishes that cure faster, but this is the general rule for almost all top coats or all varnishes. And that is all I have today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. For this project. I hope you're inspired to go and create your own super fashionable clipboard. Of course, I use this design, but you could use any decoupage paper design to make your clipboard totally you. If you are looking for Roycycled decoupage paper, you can find it at roycycled.com. And you can also find a retailer near you at roycycled.com. Just click the buy button and you'll see buy direct or find a retailer. And we do have a map there, so you can put in your location and you can find the nearest retailer. If you don't have anyone super close to you, you may want to reach out to the closest online retailer because they may be able to offer you better shipping rates than I can offer you from Arizona. So thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. This was so fun. I'm always experimenting and always discovering and always learning. And I want you guys to do the same. Give yourself permission to play when you're creating, because that's where we find discovery. So just remember, where experimentation goes, creativity follows. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you here again tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks.